to tea or coffee on High Impact Television. Of course, we are the first full HD TV station in Nigeria. And of course, again, of course, my name is Mudukwe Jacobs, and I have with me, should I do what I always do?
Of course.
I have with me the amazing, the beautiful, and super talented, I must say.
Of course.
Wuraola.
Of course. Good morning, Modukwe.
Good morning,
How was your night?
Fine. How's yours?
Fine, thank you. You look beautiful.
And you too.
You know, today is Wellness Wednesday.
Yes.
And it's also Woman Crush Wednesday, WCW.
Mm-hmm.
So who is our Woman Crush Wednesday for today?
Woman crush.
No, don't just say it. We have to, you know.
Drum roll.
With so much...
Swag.
Is it swag? Okay, yes, with so much swag.
Okay. Put
Let's
your game
go.
face on.
Our Woman Crush Wednesday is Ronke Ashiru. You know, I actually really, when I see her do some things, I'm like, oh God, this woman. Do you even sleep at all? Do you rest at all?
But she's really amazing.
Yes, so she's our Woman
and
Crush Wednesday.
beautiful.
Yes,
Gosh, her
yes.
smile takes my breath away.
I know, right? That smile. And she's amazing. The word is just amazing.
Yes.
And also it's Wellness Wednesday, where we talk about your health,
Okay.
our health. As you know, your health is one major important thing you should look out for.
Yes.
As much as you want to make money, as much as you want to do well in life, you need to focus on your health also.
As they say,
And
health is wealth.
yes, health is wealth. And today, what do we have today?
Today we'll be looking at vision care,
Okay.
basically the eyes. So, and then we have an expert in the house who is going to do justice to that topic.
Yes.
But of course, we have to go on a
Short break. Yes.
And when we come back, we'll go straight into what we have for today and, you know, introduce our guests. So please do stay glued because you don't want to miss any part of this episode. So please stay glued.
When you think about it, there's a lot to celebrate in our lives. From the smallest milestones to our biggest moments, we'll pamper you at High Impact Planet. Whatever the occasion, let's celebrate you at High Impact Planet, where fun just got real.
Have a thrilling and bonding experience at High Impact Planet Amusement Park and Resort. Enjoy an amazing retreat in our extremely secured environment with our breathtaking rides. Set goals for the upcoming year in our convenient multi-purpose halls. Bond between team members while giving your staff a desirable treat. High Impact Planet. Fun just got real.
This is still Tea or Coffee on High Impact Television. And my name is Modukwe Jacobs. I still have Wuraola Popola here with me.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, and before we went on that break, we said we are going to be talking about vision care today. And I'm quite particular about the topic because I have, you know, a personal experience, you know, when it comes to it. But we have our guests already here in the studio with us. And her name is Dr. Yemisi Shoyombo. Yes. And she is an optometrist. You're welcome, ma.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So,
Yeah.
Ura, I'm passing the baton to you.
So, I take the baton from you, Modukwe. You're welcome on
Thank
the
you
show.
very much.
Okay, so, you know, most of the times you hear women say, I'm a medical doctor, nurse, pharmacist. What was your driving force into becoming an optometrist?
As to driving force, apart from the fact that I wanted to have an area of specialty,
Okay.
I realized that sight is a very, very, very big gift, not just a gift, but also an organ. So, I mean, if I were to choose between a lot of other specialties, I would choose eye care. And then for the fact that sight is a gift, I'm happy to be in this field as well.
Oh, okay.
All right. So when it comes to the eyes, what's the cause of vision loss?
The word vision loss, I would say, is a bit ambiguous because a whole lot of things can cause vision loss. From genetics,
Okay.
a lot of times when people come into the clinic or to the hospital, and you see that the doctor asks so many questions. Has there been history of blindness in the family? Questions like, is there a history of cataract in the family? So
Okay.
talking about genetics, for one, can lead to visual loss. Accidents, that's what we refer to as trauma, blowout fractures, accidents. When I mean accident, not necessarily car accidents alone,
Okay.
fights, someone hits your eyes, carelessness. You know, just a little symptom some people feel in the eye and then don't go to the hospital to find out what exactly is going on or just run a test could also lead to blindness. There are a lot of other systemic diseases like diabetes, hypertension, which if not managed properly
Okay.
can also manifest in the eyes and eventually lead to blindness. So there are a lot of things that could eventually lead to blindness, and it all entails in how it was managed, or if whoever noticed those symptoms went to check out what exactly was going on with the eyes on time.
All right. While explaining this, you mentioned cataract.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
To the lay person, cataract is when I see those white things in the middle of my eyeballs, or some people will say when I don't see anymore, so there are a lot of explanations people have, but I would say that cataract is, I don't want to make it so big, so I'm trying to break the words as little as possible. So let's use the word opacity in the lens. So when there's some form of blockage in the lens. So the lens structure naturally is made to be transparent, so that when light passes through, it hits the retina, and a lot of other processes go on at the back of our eyes that makes us perceive vision. However, over time, the lens begins to cloud, it begins to get opacified, so it begins to get debris in it, and in the long run, it gets blocked. That's what we literally call cataract. And if you notice, a lot of times it happens to people at, not all the time, but more often than not at old age. That's when a lot of people begin to experience cataract. And it's not doom. It doesn't lead to blindness. Eventually, there's a solution. There's a surgical procedure that could be done to take out that block lens. And there are artificial lens that can be put into the eye to get you to see better as before.
Okay.
So it's not a total end of the road, even when someone has been diagnosed with cataract.
Okay, so what are the different diseases, eye diseases or eye problems that exist?
Oh, okay. Let me bring it back to what we see generally.
Okay.
So I'll start by talking about refractive errors. Refractive errors, when you hear someone say, I'm short-sighted, I'm long-sighted, I can't see from far, my better vision is when I bring things close to me. So you have that. There's also another variation of refractive error. That's when you start talking about astigmatism. And I know it sounds, but more often than not, most people will come in because they're either short-sighted or long-sighted. And like the name implies, I can't see from far, or I see only things that are far. I can't really focus on things that are close so well. In fact, the hyperopes, who are the long-sighted people, can't see very well, both at near and at far. So, but the myopes, who are the short-sighted people, can see things that are far. And these things I've talked about right now are errors that can be corrected with prescription lenses. Now, when I say the word corrected, I've had people come into the clinic and say, oh, you promised us that this thing can be corrected. This is 7 years down the line, and I'm still wearing my glasses. And in fact, every time I come into the clinic, my error increases. So for instance, I was using -1 now before, and now you're asking me to use -2, and you promised me that it was going to be corrected. So that's the technical word we use when we prescribe prescription lenses, when we prescribe lenses. What it does is helps you see better. It's not necessarily going to take the error completely away from your eyes, but I like to call it an aid. So take, for example, a man who has one leg shorter than the other and needs to use clutches. If you don't walk around with those clutches, what would happen? You experience pain, you put so much pressure on the good leg, which might start giving symptoms after a long period of time because you need to use those clutches to support. That is the same, oh, I'm so happy I've been able to break it down. That's the same way the glasses help. So it helps you to bring your focus back. And if you don't use glasses, just like the man who refused to use his clutches, you start experiencing a triad of symptoms. Apart from the refractive errors, the next thing that brings people to the clinic a lot of time, red eyes. Red eyes can be a function of the wrong makeup, especially we ladies, expired makeup, carelessness, pollens in the environment, allergies, bacterial infection, from different stuff from the environment, from someone else who has an infection as well. So many other things can lead to red eyes. The red eyes, in turn, sometimes you have people itching, tearing, contact lens as well, expired contact lenses, putting on contact lenses for longer than it was intentionally prescribed. I mean, there are different kind of contact lenses, the dailies and the extended wears. Extended wears are the ones you're allowed to wear for over a day, but that has to be prescribed by a doctor. You don't just buy them over the counter. But a lot of people abuse it, you know, and then leave it in the eyes for longer. And then, I mean, a lot of other things can lead to red eye. So I'm just touching on things that bring people a lot to the clinic. And I would like to talk about one more thing, and that's glaucoma. Glaucoma is something I don't want to use the word passionate, but I'm very passionate about educating people about, because it's called the thief of sight. And this is because glaucoma really doesn't present symptoms till the end stage. And then it has no cure. It has no cure. It has management. There's the management by medications and eye drops. There's also management by surgery. However, the key to managing glaucoma is finding out on time. And I like to put this out there. If there's a history of glaucoma in the family, either from your mom's side or your dad's side, I would advise and insist that it's just very good, very harmless to go to the eye clinic at least once in a year and do a proper evaluation. Have a comprehensive eye test, because the #1 cause for glaucoma is genetics. So if it has occurred in the past, any family member before, there's a tendency that, especially from your mom or that side, there's a tendency that it will pass over to the next generation. So I'm very passionate about educating people about that, because a lot of times, especially on this part of the world or in Nigeria as a whole, where there's a lot of, there's not so much public health information, people don't get to know until it's late.
Okay, I have to come in there. What is glaucoma, and what are the symptoms of glaucoma?
And like I said earlier, it's asymptomatic, meaning then the major symptom is the fact that there's reduction in vision.
Okay.
And then let's talk about the first question you asked, what is glaucoma?
Yes.
Glaucoma is, I try to break it down as much as possible. So pressure in the eye is a diagnosis or a disease that's caused by pressure in the eye over a long period of time that wasn't managed properly.
Okay, when you say pressure, what do you mean?
The producer had told me that they were going to ask a lot of questions. Yes, so when I mean pressure in the eye, just like you have blood pressure. So the pressure, we also have pressure in our eyes. And just like you can monitor your blood pressure, there are devices in the clinics that help you to monitor the pressure in the eye. And then there's a benchmark for which we have a benchmark that you shouldn't go above. And then when it goes above that threshold, a lot of times it starts to cause changes at the back of the eye, which in turn affects the retina and the blood vessels, the veins, all of the structures you have at the back of your eyes, the arteries. And remember I said earlier that the eye is just a device. It works hand in hand with the brain to help us perceive vision. So a lot of time people think about only the front of the eye, but remember there are also structures at the back of the eye. So when the pressure in the eye is high over a long period of time and it starts to affect the structures at the back of the eye, affects the arteries, affects the brain, affects the retina, then vision begins to reduce, and then that's why it eventually leads to blindness.
Okay, while talking, you mentioned contact lens expiring. How do you know when a contact lens is expired?
Yes, and that is why I'll tell our viewers at home not to purchase contact lens from any source.
Okay.
I understand that there are cosmetic contact lenses that people use these days for makeup,
Yes.
to brighten your face. However, contact lenses were initially designed as prescription lenses to help people see better in place of the glasses. So if you need to purchase contact lenses, I would still advise that you go to the right source, which are the eye clinics. And if you buy from the right sources, they will always have expiry dates. And you're also free to ask your doctor or whoever dispenses the lenses to you, please, when is the expiry date? I am very sure that any doctor who prescribes contact lenses to a patient will always tell you how to use them, when to use them, and the length of time to wear them.
Okay.
Yes, so that way you always get to know that the lenses are going to expire at a certain time, and then you know that you should stop wearing them.
Okay.
Hygiene, very good. Hygiene is also very important for contact lens wearers because the contact lens goes directly on the eyeball, the epithelium on the eyeball, and meaning that for something to be able to stay directly on your eyeball, there are also very high chances of getting debris or dirt into your eyeballs because you use your hand to put them directly. So if you're not a very hygienic person, I wouldn't even say finicky or neat because some people might be neat with their environment and not practice personal hygiene. If you don't wash your hands, don't use water for your contact lens solution, there's actually a difference between the water and the contact lens solution in itself. So there are a lot of rules that we dish out to patients every time we prescribe.
Even using neat water.
No, neat water, no. Neat water doesn't
work.
qualify. No, it doesn't qualify. They're contact lens solutions, and these solutions are made of different elements to make them suitable to take care of those lenses, you know. And if they're dirty, I've heard someone say, oh, it was dirty, so I mixed little bathing soap and water and rinsed it. I'm like, no. A lot of people conjure different things that psychologically make a lot of sense to us, but it's always good to stick to directions. Anything that has medical implications, I always advise that you stick to directions.
Okay.
Let's talk about protecting the eyes
Yes.
now, especially for those that are short-sighted or are long-sighted.
Yeah.
How do they protect the eyes so it doesn't get worse?
Okay, so protecting the eyes, let me come from the angle of protection in general. So protection in general, when you mean protection, I take it that you mean making sure your eyes do not get any worse or get bad. So there are different opportunities for protection. I'll first like to talk about sunglasses. As much as sunglasses is a fashion instrument or a fashion accessory, sunglasses are also very, it's advisable you be in Nigeria here with the weather, the sun, I advise that it's always good to put on sunglasses when you're outside. This is because sunglasses that protect from UV rays. UV rays are quite harmful to the eye. As a matter of fact, UV rays are one of the things that cause cataract in the long run. So I'll advise that whenever we're outside, let's try to put on sunglasses to protect our
That's
eyes.
while the sun is out, because some people will still
Oh
wear
no,
sun.
no, not when the rain is out.
No,
Wow,
I've
the
seen
sun.
situations like that.
Yeah, I've seen
When
situations
even
like that.
evenings, just for
They-
fashion
Remember
sake,
the
they
name
wear
is sunglasses. I mean,
yes.
if you're using it for whatever reason as a fashion accessory, then I'm not here to bust your bubbles. But however, it's good to put them on when you're in the sun. And then for people who have jobs that have occupational hazards involved, there are a lot of personal, like PPEs, protective eyewear that they should wear. A lot of these people will be cancelled. Oh, when you're working in a laboratory, different kind of situations and work environment, there's certain work hazards that are liable to cause harm to your eyes. But for some reason, we take it for granted. You know, I've had the opportunity to speak to welders, because the lights they use to do the surgery, it also affects their eyes negatively, and they've been told and they know, but I haven't been able to understand why, in spite of the foreknowledge they have, they will still not want to protect their eyes. So I'm using the welders as an example. If you find yourself in an environment or a factory or a job that has hazards that would harm your eyes, you protect your eyes with whatever eyewear protective devices have been provided at that point in time. And then for the people who are short-sighted, like the direct question she asked, either the short-sighted, long-sighted, the astigmatic people, or people with any form of refractive error, it's advisable that you put on your glasses. I've had a patient walk up to the clinic once, and I said to him, "Oh, sir, you wear your glasses?" And he said, "Oh, I wanted to exercise my eyes, so I didn't wear it for some time. I want to exercise. I wear my glasses every day. Let me exercise my eyes." You know.
You even have some people say, "Let me check. You know this.
Yeah.
Let me check if I can.
Let me
see
check if I
now."
can see. What you do indirectly is put a lot of strain on the eye. Like, remember the story I told you about the man with the clutches? So, I mean, there are other several forms of exercising the eyes and eye movements and taking your eyes off the screen, blinking 20 times. There are so many other ways. But dropping your glasses for a period of time, for months or days, and saying you want to exercise your eyes, I mean, for those who have refractive error, you will end up most of the time with a very bad headache that is not caused by malaria.
So I think
So,
I'm guilty of that.
yeah, so that's paracetamol you keep taking.
Okay.
Just putting on your prescription lenses can take away that headache and that discomfort you feel in the eyes.
Looking
Yeah.
at what you have been talking about, light can be like a negative effect on the
Yes,
eyes.
that makes sense.
And then you mentioned welders. You know, you also have people that 24/7 they have to be on their system.
Very
Imagine a blogger.
Exactly.
You have to be on your system,
Yes,
working on your
working on
system. Now, that light does not have any effect on the eye.
It does. That's a very good question, because technology has been a blessing, especially in our generation. However, I will always advise, even with kids, I will always say to everyone to try and take a break from the devices, from the screens, because not just the computer, even the iPads you're holding, the TV, our phones, if you're not even on your system all the time, a lot of time you're on your phone throughout the day. You know, any instrument, any device that has display units that emit light rays, over a long period of time will cause a bit of discomfort. So, in fact, there's a diagnosis called computer vision syndrome.
Wow.
And computer vision syndrome is not gotten because somebody in the family had it. It's not because it's in the blood or line or whatever. It's not even genetic. It's as a result of the fact that someone has been on the computer for a long time. The lights, the pixels, the letterings, the fonts, a lot of time. And all of these have come together to cause a wide range of symptoms, discomfort, tearing. You get people who are tearing, peppery sensation. You know, you get a whole lot of stuff. And they don't even know that this is what is causing it. So they run to the pharmacy and pick up eye drops. Oh, I think I have an infection. Oh, I think I should use chloramphenicol. Meanwhile, all of those discomfort are coming from the display units, meaning the computer, the phones, the TV. So I would say take a break from your phones, take a break from your computer every now and then. In fact, there are softwares that some companies have installed in their systems that shut down the computer after a period of time and forces the staff to take a break So there's a 20-20 rule for everyone. When you look at the system for a while, take your eyes away, blink for 20, take your eyes away for 20 seconds. I mean, there are a lot of rules that help us to manage. But I would still say, especially at the end of the month where there are reports and a lot of things as staff to do, a lot of deliverables, so you might find yourself, even at night, get home from work and you're still working, but take a break from the system. And for people who have been having this recurrent symptoms, I'll say go to the eye clinic and have an evaluation. There are also computer glasses. Remember, this is not for short-sighted people. These are not for long-sighted people this time around. But there are computer glasses that help relax your eyes, protect your eyes from the rays. They have a lot of treatments to them, anti-reflex treatments, UV protection, anti-glare that comes from the screen. And you can use them while on your system. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't take a break from the system. Having those glasses doesn't mean you don't take a break. You take a break, but wearing those lenses, the computer lenses, will give a lot of relief to the eyes and indirectly take away all the symptoms that people experience.
All right. So we've been talking with Yemisi Shoyombo,
Yes,
an optometrist. She's been enlightening us on how you could take care of your eyes. You know, little things that you do not pay attention to actually matters. And when we come back, you were mentioning something about rules. You know, when we come back from the short break, she would shed more light on how you can avoid all of these little errors and little things that could affect the eyes. We'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll shed more light on the topic. Make sure you don't go anywhere because you still have a lot to learn.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
Solution Media and Infotech is a 21st century company that provides you with world-class entertainment second to none. With our cutting-edge innovations, equipment, and gears, we bring your imaginations alive. We provide live and reinforced sound for any audience size, as well as an array of show lights to create the required ambience for your events. Our 30,000 capacity outdoor arena, state-of-the-art stages, and movable venues ensure that your events stay memorable. If you can think it, we can achieve it. Solution Media and Infotech, a world of limitless possibilities.
Okay, welcome back. Before we went on break, we were talking with Yemisi Shoyombo, an optometrist, and she's been talking to us about vision care. You mentioned something about rules and guidelines that you should take note of. You know, before cure, you have prevention. Like the popular saying, prevention is usually better than cure.
Yeah.
So what are the things to look out for? What are the things you should take note of before it gets to the point that you have to use glasses or contact lenses?
Okay, so preventive health is something that's very paramount, very important. And I would say that if a lot of us practice preventive health, we won't come down with diagnosis. So that's a very important question that you've asked. So there are a lot of measures. What you're doing now is also part of preventive health, education. And education doesn't necessarily have to be in class or in TV. The knowledge we get, the good information we get, we should always pass to people around us and let people hear the truth. Let people know that, oh, urine doesn't do anything to your eyes. It's just a myth. I've heard people say that you should use urine for Apollo. That's conjunctivitis, you know. So no, you know, passing on good information and not sticking to old myths that do not have any relevant or scientific or medical claims to it. That's one. Also, I would like to talk about annual checks and regular eye checks. It's very important, just like we preach annual body checks, general checks, your eyes should also be checked annually, especially whether there's an issue, whether there's an error or not. And then we should, this time around, I'll place more focus on people who have history of eye problems or blindness in the family, you know, be it cataract or glaucoma, which of them, or any other one. It's also good that you have an annual check. Now, I also like to put an age bracket to how often you should have this eye checks done. So, I mean, for kids, we'll talk about the kids more. However, for kids, I would say at least at the beginning of the school year, let your child have their eyes examined. In fact, in some countries, it is mandatory. It's part of the things that they take at the beginning of school year to make sure that the eyes are checked, because it's very, very important in learning process. It's very, very important to pick and adapt in class, you know. So for kids, once in a year, in fact, up till about 30, I would still say you can have your eyes checked once in 2 years, you know. And that's for people who do not have any history, any prior diagnosis, or any complaint. But by the time we start getting over 30, especially the 40s, the 50s, it is mandatory that you have your eyes checked once in a year. And then for people who are hypertensive, people who are diabetic, most especially those two classes of people, I would also advise that you check at least twice in a year. This is because there are also ocular manifestations of these diseases. What I mean by ocular manifestations is that diabetes, just like it affects sometimes wound, delays wound healing and a lot of other things that people notice in their bodies, it also presents itself with different symptoms in the eye. Same as hypertension. So for people who fall under this class of management of hypertension and diabetes, please have your eyes checked at least twice in a year. You know, so having a regular eye check, annual eye check, intermittently is very, very, very plays a very key role in preventive health as regards eye care. And then for people who wear prescription lenses, at least once in 2 years, have your eyes checked. Sometimes the prescription might go higher, sometimes it might be stagnant, some other times it might go lower. Some other times, some people will say, oh, I started up as a Maya, but now I'm hearing the doctor says I have a little more, or I have a little more of astigmatism. You know, all of these things, you will never get to know that anything has changed by sitting comfortably in your house or in your comfort zone. So prevention, like you said earlier, is better than cure. And one way to make sure we prevent is by going to see the doctor. Let's inculcate this into our personal habits. I mean, especially the present Nigerian youths, we've inculcated a lot of things. We've inculcated Instagram. In fact, Instagram is some people's good morning. You know, once they wake up in the morning, it's Facebook, it's Instagram. Some people work. You know, we've also inculcated a lot of habits. Now there's a new trend of fitness. Everybody's trying to be fit. Everybody's trying to eat better, which is also good. I'm going to talk about that as well, good foods that we should eat. However, what I'm talking about this time around is inculcating eye care into our personal habits. Let's make sure, because, I mean, WHO says that once someone loses their sight, it reduces their quality of life. So this is not I respect all the other senses, but sight isn't one of the senses we should toy around with. As when we remember, sometimes I say to people, put your hand on your eyes and imagine that you cannot see anything. So every time you put your hand in your eyes, that should remind you that you should take a trip down to the eye doctors, and make sure everything is good. Another thing I would like to talk about is the food we eat. I'm happy that there's a lot of fitness and fit farm and organic foods going on. Don't starve yourself. However, it's natural foods play a very important role. You don't have to wait till you travel out to buy the broccoli or the lentil or all those Igbo things we see.
Some people have joined the vegetarian gang.
Yeah, the vegetarian gang. Yes, kudos to them. So even our African natural vegetables, our ugu leaf, the pumpkin leaf, our ewedu, carrots, potato, sweet potato or the Irish potato, chicken, eating very well, healthy food, organic food, also sends the nutrients to our eyes. So it doesn't just pack to only our tummies and make us look trim. It doesn't only go to our legs. It doesn't only cause us to lose weight and look healthy. However, it also improves our eye health, and also practicing good eye hygiene. This is to the ladies. Makeup products have expiry dates. Your mascara has expiry dates. Your eye pencils have expiry dates. And try not to share. And if you have to share, make sure there's proper hygiene to the mascaras, the pencils, and all the things that go directly into the eyes. Because take, for instance, somebody had an infection, and this mascara was used on those lashes, on those lids, and then it comes back to you. Oh,
so it
friends
can be
and family.
transferred.
Yes, it can be transferred. So good hygiene, lead hygiene. For mothers with babies, self-medication is not the key. If you notice that there are discharges from your baby's eyes, the baby's eyes are sticky, he's rubbing and rubbing and rubbing, yes, I would advise home wash with warm water is good. However, take that baby to the nearest eye clinic. And now the government is doing so well because most of the general hospitals also have eye doctors who come around from time to time. So you don't have to wait till you go to the private hospital, because I hear people say to me a lot of time, accessing eye care is very expensive, from the test to the eye, to the frame, to the lenses. So you can even go to the government's primary health centers. Take that baby to the doctor. Do not wait, And then some also diseases should be managed properly. Measles, for instance, can also affect the eyes if not taken care of properly. I've had to see patients with measles. So don't keep that child in the house and say, oh, my mother said we can use palm wine to bath the baby. I'm not disputing a lot of the myths, because some people say they have worked, and I'm not a herbal specialist, so I can't tell you which works and which doesn't work. However, what I'm here to advocate right now is that you take that child to the hospital, let an eye doctor do an overview and prescribe what's best. Sometimes they might tell you to go home. Sometimes they might say just the warm compress. But it's better to be practicing the right information than.
You mentioned taking notes and paying attention to little things. As much as when you feel headache, the first thing that comes to your mind, let me just take paracetamol. Like that's like quickest medication you can reach out to. Is it the same thing for the eye, that you can just go to a pharmacy and get or you get an eye drop?
No. So for specialty sectors, the eye, the ear, the nose, when it comes to senses, I would not recommend that. However, there are over-the-counter medications, eye drops, ear drops, even for the dentist, pain relievers. Like I remember when I was young, Bonjela used to be our go-to at that time. So they're over-the-counter medications. But I like to say that these over-the-counter medications are just supposed to take care of the symptom till you go to see your doctor. But they will not take away the cause of those symptoms you're experiencing. So yes, going to the pharmacy to get the first aid treatment. You're having an itchy eye, you run to the pharmacy to get something to stop the itchiness. You're having a headache, you go to the pharmacy and or go to your first aid box and take an analgesic, paracetamol, or whichever one you have access to. Safe one that you have over-the-counter analgesic. However, if the symptom continues, then you should know that this first aid treatment I'm using isn't the answer. It's a time to take a trip down to the eye clinic and have an evaluation.
We already started talking about myths when you talked about using urine as eye drop when you have Apollo. Okay, so there's one particular myth that I'm actually passionate about because, should I say I've been a victim of, victim of
She has
it?
the experience.
You know, growing up, especially when I was from my primary school, I had issues with my eye. I'm short-sighted, so I had to always sit in front of the class. And then
Wow.
sometimes my teachers would just take me to the back and say, today, sit at the back. And then for that day, I might not write anything or even learn anything because I can't even see,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
what the teacher is writing.
Oh,
And then
wow.
it went on to my secondary school, and at a point, talking to my parents, they were like, children don't use glasses. Like, they don't
I hear
have
that a
eye
lot.
issues,
Yeah, I hear that
you
a
know,
lot.
and they'll just say, you want to use it to do shakara. That's what you want to use it for.
Someone in your class.
Someone in your
Yeah,
class is
someone in
using
your
it,
class
so
is
you
using
want to
it.
use it, you know.
At times, if you hear them say you want them to see you as a brainy, or
Yeah.
you want them to see you as the one that knows
Everything.
the book, everything in
Yeah.
class.
Exactly. So is it true that children don't have eye issues
So
or
that's
they can't
false.
use glasses?
That's the fact. Yeah, if I'm to write the false on the board, I'll probably do a capital letter. That's totally false.
Okay.
And I'm really very sorry about what you had to go through. Not just you alone, and a whole lot of people also experience what you had to go through. In fact, let me tell you a story about an elderly man that I met recently. And he shared something similar to what had happened to you. In his own case, he didn't even have an error. You know, he had played in school and somehow hit his eyes with his friends, probably a blow or something. And he kept on saying to his mom, my eyes are hurting, that particular eye is hurting, that particular eye is hurting. And she never took him seriously for years, and he kept on complaining until that particular eye started turning inwards a little bit. And that was when she took a stroll down to the doctor to have an evaluation done. And they found out that if he had seen the doctor earlier, the inward turning of that eyes would have been eliminated. It wouldn't even have happened in the first place. At the end of the day, that he said to me, that was how he started wearing glasses. And unfortunately, that particular eye has an error, while the other is still, is plano, meaning does not have an error. So I see that a lot in our environment where there's a particular belief or myth about children wearing glasses. And I want to plead the parents, please, 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 wherever that is coming from, take it away. Because a lot of children have failed their exams. A lot of children have been relegated to the background. A lot of children have been tagged Yoruba word Olodo, you know. And the key reason is because they are not seen properly. So you notice that those kids are the last to copy their notes. Those kids will always want to copy from a
their seat
friend
partner,
or the
yes.
seat partner, you
makes
know,
them slow.
or for some reason they will never be able to complete whatever the teacher is writing on the board. And what does this lead to? Low performance. It leads to low performance. That's why I said earlier that some schools and some countries have made it very important as a criteria that once it's the beginning of a new school year, we want to see your eye test result from a doctor. You know, because this will reduce the performance for the kids, like what she had experienced, what you had experienced while in school. So it's a myth. There's nothing like children are not supposed to wear glasses. In fact, I hear people say, God forbid, or my mother didn't wear glasses, my grandmother, why you? Remember that things have changed, times have changed. Also, these children are more exposed to devices now. I read a research work recently, and it was saying that children are becoming more myope. That's more short-sighted. This is because they are more exposed to screens, to the TV, to the laptops, as even compared to the past. Aside from that, you want this child to perform well. Imagine, just put yourself in the child's understanding that this child has been struggling. You know, some people, I've seen some kids will take their time to copy notes. There are a lot of therapies, you know, apart from glasses, there are a lot of therapies that can help that child see better if only you take them to the clinic. So, I mean, I understand we have a myth about glasses, but glasses is not the end of the road for a child, and it's not the only solution. Take the first step and take the child to the glasses and to the doctor, and if the the eye doctor recommends prescription lenses, by all means, get the prescription lenses for that child. You are helping that child academically, you're increasing the performance, and you're also taking care of the child's health. Remember, eliminating possible headaches, eliminating lazy eyes. There's something we call amblyopia, but I'm calling on this platform, I like to say lazy eyes. You know, you're eliminating a lot of diagnoses, strabismus, that can come from long-term strain. In fact, sometimes I see some kids, and when they come here, they come into the clinic, they're squinting this way.
Yes, and even the squinting.
Yeah, and a lot of the time they've adapted to squinting because squinting gets them to see things sharper. And before you know it, someone is squinting throughout the day. You know, so there are a lot of this, and I would even like to share symptoms with the parents. So if you notice that your child squints a lot, if you notice that your child keeps using his hand to rub his eyes, if you notice that your child is slow in school and the teachers keep complaining, oh, he doesn't see from far, his notes are not complete, he's missing letters, that's also one very delicate thing to look out for. So children like that will miss letters, children like that will tear a lot from long strain, and eventually sometimes they do not have a good positive reaction to near work. Meaning reading their books, doing their assignment, anything that has to do with reading becomes strain and stress to them. So you see them running away. So if you notice any of these symptoms, it's time to take that child to see an eye doctor and eliminate it, because that might be a neurosurgeon in the making. Just like we had the story of Jane Hopkins.
So another one is when you have people believe that people using glasses, children using glasses, they are the brilliant and intelligent ones in class. What? Because
No. I see that.
I realized there was one time I had to go get this recommended glasses, and I put it on so I would look serious,
Very
you know,
serious
and look
focused.
like
Yeah.
I'm probably maybe that would help me to become brilliant.
Fashion-wise, prescription eyewear adds a bit of seriousness and focus to aesthetically to your face. However, I like to explain that myth. So what has happened is that, especially for short-sighted people, because they naturally cannot see or perceive things that are far very clearly, near work has become a hobby. Because if seeing things that are far are not clear to them, are not comfortable, is blur. So you find that people like that, their hobbies become reading novels, indirectly reading their books too, sewing, writing, arts and crafts, creating stuff, you know. So I would say that as a myth, or as behavioral science will say, the fact that their gift is with their near world, their eyesight is more comfortable for them, or their gift of eyesight is with close work, it has made them become more susceptible to reading. And then if you read a lot, you will pass a lot in school academically, you know. So I think that's what has been associated with a lot of the people who wear glasses doing well. Near work, reading has become their hobby because that's how far they're comfortable with or without their glasses.
Okay, so you are an optometrist.
Yes, I am.
What is the difference between being an optician, an optometrist, and ophthalmologist?
Okay, so in this, the word optician is still used in some certain countries for primary eye care providers. But bringing it back home, opticians are technically trained and skilled people in the area of visual health. And they are responsible for the lenses. So when we do our tests and get your prescription lenses out, they're responsible for fitting the lenses, making sure they come out right, putting them in the wrong axis. And I would call them the behind-the-scene guys. So they are the ones that understand our jargons that we write on our prescription set. Optometrists like myself are primary eye care providers. They're the first go-to when you have any issues that's related to your eye care. And optometrists also have different specialties. You have the pediatric specialists, you have the geriatric, the older people specialists. You also have occupational optometrists that are focused on people who work in hazard or work environments. You also have low vision specialists. That's people who need to be taken care of after surgery. Even after surgery, they still need to be managed with different devices. The ophthalmologists on the other note are eye surgeons, they're GPs, that's general practitioners, who have gone ahead to specialize in eye care as well as a consultancy. They're responsible for performing surgeries. And in a case of hierarchy, when we see patients that cannot be managed on our own level, we refer to the ophthalmologist for higher level of management, and most of the time surgery. So this is how the hierarchy has been. Yeah.
All right. So it's first the
Optician.
The opticians,
optician,
Then
are behind the scene,
Okay,
the
then the
optometrists,
optometrists,
are primary care providers, and
Then
the
the
ophthalmologists
ophthalmologists,
are secondary care providers and specialists.
So, please, I must ask this question.
Feel free.
How often should we change the glasses?
Okay, so how often? I would say if there's no history of underlying diagnosis, and the doctor has said to you, oh, you're short-sighted or you're long-sighted, just that alone, I would say at least 2 times, once in 2 years.
Once in 2 years.
At least.
At least. Okay.
So usually we always say come back in a year, but for the purpose of the general public hearing, I would say just try once in 2 years. Walk up to the doctor, especially if you're below your 30s.
Okay. All right. One more question.
I think I'm going to have about 10 one more.
For children that most times I've seen the situation whereby the babies like tender ages from 3-4 years. I know a child that's from 4-year-old. She's 4 years and she's using glasses already. So I wonder what exactly is happening that would make a little child diagnosed of eye problem. At times, you even find, is it possible to actually detect an eye error or eye problem even from the womb when the child is in the womb?
Not necessarily pregnancy, but there are a class of diseases we call congenital eye diseases, meaning conditions that happen even at newborn stage, and that includes cataract. So apart from refractive errors, a lot of children, more prominently cataract, not just cataract, a lot of corneal disorders, the cornea that's in front of your eyes. Some children are born with these congenital disorders. Some can be managed at once. Some you have to wait after a while. Some are surgical management involved, some are medical management involved, and some will be managed by lenses like the child you saw. So a lot of the time, especially in the cases of cataract, that's where you hear that the child had to have a surgery even at that young age, because we don't want the child to grow and then the eye is used to the fact that it's not perceiving vision. So in the case of cataract, they try to do a surgery to take out the cloudiness in the lens at that young age so that the child will begin to perceive vision very early. Most of the time, after the surgery is done, the child will need prescription lenses, depending on what exactly the case on ground is. So there are a lot of congenital errors that also still occur with children, even right from the womb. So, I mean, you're talking about something that's very real and occurs quite often as well.
You know, I could go on and on, but our time is fast spent. We really have to go. We'll probably continue after the program.
Okay, I'm here. I'm all yes today.
All right, so we have to wrap up now. Time is gone, pretty gone.
Wow, really?
And we have to.
Yes.
You see, she didn't even realize that.
Yes,
it's very really, and you know, this is something that I'm also guilty of. I'm a victim of it. I don't really pay attention to
the eyes.
especially going to check your eye, because I don't feel there's
I can't remember
anything
last
wrong
time I
with
went
my
to
eye.
Please.
So I don't feel the reason
I'm going
to
hand
go
over
and check.
a complimentary card,
Yeah.
complimentary
I
eye
definitely will
test
collect
card.
it.
Okay.
You know, so that you can. So we have a good free platform.
All right,
Okay.
all right. We must say thank you for joining us.
Oh,
on
it's
the show.
been,
Thank you
it's
so
been a
much.
pleasure.
It's
You
been-
guys are very, very awesome. An
Thank
awesome
you.
twin or team.
You've
You've
actually enlightened me,
Exactly.
especially. I must speak for myself. I don't know about you, but
For both of
You
us,
better-
come on. I've learned a lot, trust
I am
me.
not
yeah.
in your mind. Are we us? Are you
Okay,
me? Is
Rowla.
me you? So I cannot. But yes, I cannot speak for myself.
Yeah, it's been really
Yes,
nice.
I must say you really enlightened us
Yes.
on
I
different
enjoyed
things about the
being
eye.
on the show myself.
Yes,
you.
thank you so much. Okay, so we have to wrap up now. Till we meet again, same time, same station. Make sure you keep your eyes glued to High Impact TV, but also learn to take a break from the screen at times.
Okay.
Till we meet again
Yeah, very
tomorrow.
awesome.
I am
We must say that, you know, in case you just join in, you know, you can watch a repeat later
Yes,
in the
on
day,
YouTube.
or you can, no, not on YouTube, on High Impact TV.
Yes,
And then,
High
of course,
Impact
you
TV.
can go to our YouTube page and, you know, watch a repeat again. So,
All right.
Till we meet tomorrow.
Yes, I
Same
remain.
time, same station.
Yes.
My name remains Midukwe Jacobs.
And I am Vuraola Popola.
Bye. Have a lovely day.
Bye.